In this video, we're going to take a look at KR Space by K-Research. It's a unique, high-quality, and modular multi-effects processing unit. This plugin is based on reverbation, but unlike typical reverbs, it's an incredibly powerful new approach to the technology. It actually utilizes something called animated object space emulation, and that's just to begin with. Whether you're working with special effects, post-production, rock, spoken word, or all of the above, this plugin is truly unique and in a class of its own. Let's check it out. This is the KR Space plugin from K-Research. It's a multi-effects unit. Let's cover some of the applications within this plugin before we get started. Here we have our input and output meters in the top left and right corners, and our activate and deactivate button as usual. And here we've got a link section. This is interesting. You see, we can run both units, the AOSE, which stands for Animated Object Space Emulator, and the Reverb unit. We can run those in series like so. Now, if I select the AOSE button like this, it'll actually activate and run as a subunit of the Reverb. Let's take a listen to both of those. Here it is as a subunit. And here it is in series. So as you can see, some of the parameters different. They vary depending on which setting you have it here. Below that, we've got our master section, but next to it, we have the animated object space emulator parameters. Now, what this basically does is it's an environment, a virtual environment, where you can use these virtual objects, these round bubbles here, and depending on the size, shape, and values you assign them, they give you different special effects. Very cool, and I suggest diving right in and really playing around with them to see what you can get. We're going to hear some of that in a little bit. Next here, we've got the diffusion, some feedback, and an EQ section. Now, selecting the reverb section like this brings us to what we typically would see for normal reverbs. Now, it's important to keep in mind that this is an ARS plugin, which means it's asymmetrical reflection scheme. What that means is it's capable of varying the energy from different surfaces to give you more natural sounding reverb effects. Now, some of the settings here are quite, we've got early reflection, late reflections, we have diffusion here. We have our high pass and low pass, but down here in the master EQ section, there's one application that I really enjoy. And here you have the listener position. Here would be a small icon representing a head with two ears. And by toggling this parameter, we can move a listener closer or further away. Let's take a listen to that. What that does is it changes the parameters to reflect where you are in the room listening, and it's a really interesting way to present a new kind of EQ feature. Again, I suggest just diving right in and, experimenting with some of these sounds. So with that in mind, why don't we take a listen? I've got my drums soloed here, and why don't we run through some of these presets? If I select here, you can see that we're given an unbelievable amount of presets, which I just love. It's a great way to pick one, get started, and then you can tweak it and adjust it to your taste. Let's check it out. This plugin really lends itself to a lot of creativity. Why don't we try it on a different instrument right now? Let's solo our guitars. And why don't we take it from here? And let's take a listen to that. All right, great. I'll call up right there. So why don't I toggle this, the power switch on and off, and we can hear before and after. Here's with the plugin on. Beautiful sounding reverb. Now again, we're in the reverb section here because that's the effect we're using here in this preset. Let's go back to the animated object space emulator section. And why don't we try some different presets? Let's pick heavy guitar, and let's take a listen to this. I love this. All right, I'm going to scroll through a couple of these presets to have a little bit of fun while it's playing back. Let's take a listen. This plugin is really groundbreaking in that it brings a unique way to interact with your audio when it comes to a kind of effect like a reverb. It's no longer a reverb anymore. It's something you can engage and really dive into. These parameters are a lot of fun to use, and I have to tell you something, I've gotten a lot of amazing results with this program. So this is the plugin, KSpace, here, KR Space, by K-Research. And again, the best way to really experience anything is to dive right in and have fun.